Well, as children, we all have to learn the difference between clean and unclean. It is drilled into us by our mothers, who make sure that we take our baths and wash our hands. Well, the same principle spiritually, we must learn the difference between the holy and the unholy. And this is a major part of the laws and regulations found in the Torah. So welcome to this week's Shabbat Shalom devotional, when I seek to share just a little inspiration and bring a little peace to the close of your very busy week. This week's Torah portion is called Shemini, and it is literally the 8th day in English, and the verses are Leviticus 9 through chapter 11. So we read here about the service of the priest begins, and Aaron, the high priest, goes in and makes sacrifice on behalf of his sin and then on behalf of all the people. He follows it exactly as he was instructed by the Lord, perfectly. And then following his obedience is an amazing moment we read about in Leviticus 9, verses 23 and 24. And Moses and Aaron went into the tabernacle of meeting and came out and blessed the people. Then the glory of the Lord appeared to all the people, and fire came out from before the Lord and consumed the burnt offering and the fat on the altar. When all the people saw it, they shouted and fell on their faces. This was the reward of obedience, of admiring the holy and keeping the unholy out of things. So this story is then followed by this story about profane fire. And I think of Aaron. He came out of just this high, this moment of seeing the glory of God fall and the people falling on their faces because he had been so obedient to do things exactly the way the Lord had prescribed. And he immediately sees his own sons trying to create the fire of God themselves in their own power, and it's something that they pay for with their lives. Poor Aaron, he went from an absolute high to an absolute low. But the meaning of this is found in verse 3 of chapter 10, right after their death. This is what the Lord explains. By those who come near me, I must be regarded as holy, and before all the people, I must be glorified. Now that may sound a little prideful or arrogant of our God, that he is so important that he be glorified. That's not at all what this means. It means he is holy, and he cannot have fellowship with the unholy. And therefore we as his people must learn to distinguish between holy, which allows us into his presence, and the unholy, which will keep us from his presence. Right after this, just in verse 10 and 11, the Lord speaks to Aaron and he says, "Do not drink wine or intoxicating drink, you nor the sons with you, when you go into the tabernacle of meeting, lest you die, that you may distinguish between holy and unholy, and between unclean and clean, and that you may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which the Lord has spoken to them by the hand of Moses." So we follow this then in chapter 11, where we give the dietary laws, what are known as the kosher laws or kashrut. And I'm just going to say very quickly, there's really no reason behind some of these rules on what foods are clean and what foods are unclean. People have tried to say, well, it's a healthier way of eating because this animal is that or this animal is that. And in some cases, that's true. But in some cases, it has nothing to do with health. So there's not a really easy explanation. I've even heard an explanation on some of the dietary laws were to distinguish the children of Israel from the pagans. And that's true for some of them, but not all of them. So the real point about the kosher laws is it's just a means of obedience that will mark you as belonging to him, you being the children of Israel. and it'll make them different from the world around them. It will help them to distinguish between clean and unclean, which then spiritually helps them to distinguish between holy and unholy. And that is a very good thing. So with that, I want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom.